you'd have some visibility in terms of how the event industry, which is huge in America. America's maybe got the most event-centric event culture in business. Now the pandemic came along and sort of thrown a whole spanner into the works in terms of live. How do you see the event industry evolving in the future? Because you must have some real insights into that. In other words, this combination of both live and also virtual events, which are almost being, it's almost like a hybrid, isn't it? Just like work's going in a way. How do you see the event industry evolving? I'd be interested in your thoughts.
So, hybrid work is a really good metaphor, and I think a good thing to talk through as we talk about how the event industry is changing.
Yep.
Most of my peer CEOs, most of our clients, when I talk to them about hybrid work, agree that it's been a lot harder to get people to come back to the office than they realized.
Yeah.
Of course,
the genie's out of the bottle.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard. And at BrandLive, we have a younger employee base. Our average age is 28. I thought people would rush back in. I thought they were lonely. I thought they wanted to be back with people. The data does not prove that out.
Yep.
Everyone says their most important thing is flexibility. And at BrandLive, we're a creative organization. You'd think that being together would be at least that's part of our thesis, that it's going to be beneficial to us. But it's been hard to get people to come back. And I think at this point, right, going into September, back to school of 2022, we are expecting that more and more organizations are going to be requiring 3 days, 2 days in the office. It seems like Apple, Nike in particular are two that have done that. So I do expect most large companies to have employees in the office half time. That's kind of the way I would think about it.
Yep.
And it's also, of course, with inflation and if you've traveled recently, that it's super expensive to get anywhere, even if you're flying to San Francisco from Portland. And so, the cost of travel is expensive. I think a lot of people look back on the pre-pandemic period and kind of question whether they really needed to travel as much as they did,
Yep.
especially with young families trying to prioritize their life in new ways. And so I think that there's going to be, at least for the considerable future, call it the next 5 years, real doubt about events that are entirely in person, unless they're conferences that are focused on networking and lead gen.
Yep.
And so that part of the market is not an area BrandLive focuses in. It's not really the types of events experiences that we did during the pandemic. And I think arguably are the ones that are going entirely back to in-person, because the event professionals that plan the event loved doing them that way. And a lot of the people who went to attend them loved going to them to network and to meet people.
Exactly.
Thirsty for the extroversion. And so, we're totally copacetic that the conference industry, the event industry, the ones that make money off of events, will largely go back in person. And I think you've seen a lot of small events go back in person because small events do better in person, arguably.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. Our thesis and what we've come to conclude is that for marketing events, where the primary purpose is not inclusion or bringing people together, but rather communicating, making sure the person watching understands it, engages, feels better about themselves, feels more loyal to the company, wants to buy more things, right? Webinars, big customer events, product launches, right? Where it's generally one-to-many, and you as a viewer or watching something like you're watching television, you are not being forced to turn your camera on. Those types of experiences, we are seeing people move to more asynchronous viewer patterns where they're creating great content, they're broadcasting as if it's live, but they're also doing a ton of post-event marketing to try to drive people to the asynchronous consumption of on-demand content.
Yeah.
And so that's the area we think is going through a bunch of evolution.